What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at the top 25 best arenas in college basketball. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe. We're almost at 200. If we can hit that, I don't know, by somewhere in March, I'll be fine with that. And starting off right here, we have the Carrier Dome. And you might be thinking, this is a football field and this is a college basketball video. Well, the Carrier Dome actually splits in half and turns into a basketball arena. So that's pretty cool. So that's why I put this at 25. Next up at 24, we have the Stephen O'Connell Center, which is home to Florida. And the main reason this one's here is the roof. Look at this. It's a brand new roof. Just was made a couple years ago. So a really interesting model. So that's why this is at 24. Next up, we have Devlin Fieldhouse, the home of Tulane. And the reason this one's here, it might be really small. It only fits 4,100 people, which makes it one of the smallest in NCAA. But this was actually made in 1931, so almost 100 years old, and it still looks pretty nice. So that's why it's at 23. Next up at 22, we have McAllister Fieldhouse, the home of the Citadel, and I think this needs no explanation why this is here. Just look how interesting it is. The arena literally looks like a castle, so this is a really interesting and unique stadium. So that is why it is at 22. 21, we have Pinnacle Bank Arena, the home of Nebraska. This is a very big stadium, has 15,000 seats. And this one is really cool. If you look at this design, all glass windows, you can see through the whole inside. It's also right next to Memorial Stadium, the home of the Huskers. Yeah. So that's why this is at 21. At number 20, we have Rupp Arena, the home of Kentucky. And the main reason this one's so big is the main reason this one's at 20 is because of how big it is. 23,000 seats. And it's pretty much always packed out. Kentucky's had a lot of success throughout their history. And as you can see right here, if you look at the video boards, you can see De'Aaron Fox's name go across it, who's a huge star in the NBA now. 19, we have Charles Koch Arena, I think is how you say that. The main reason this is so high up is look at the circle court. I think that's very, very cool. So that's the main reason this is here, but it's also a very old stadium. It was made in the 50s, but yeah, it still looks really nice. Next up at number 18, we have Edward C. Crystal Jr. Arena. That is a long name, but this is the home of Army at West Point, and I just think this is really interesting. If you look at the yellow ducks up there, the reason for that is because there's an ice rink that fits 3,000 people right next door to this. So that's really interesting there. And also, if you look at the seats here, you can see they're very high up. It's a straight line up there. So I think this is a really very interesting stadium. Next up, we have the third oldest arena. I keep saying stadium. I'm so used to making football videos. Arena in the country. This is Lafayette Pavilion, Harvard. Now, this was made in 1926, which in 2 years will be 100 years ago. That's absolutely insane. But if you look, I just think it's interesting just because of how old it is, if you think about it. Now at 16, I have one of my personal favorites, Mackey Arena, the home of Purdue. I want to go to a game here so bad. Just look how fun this looks. A circle stadium. It gets packed in there for big games as well. And I'm sure it is so loud in there. That looks awesome. 15, we have Pauley Pavilion, the home of UCLA. And just look at this stadium. It's so modern looking. It's huge as well. It has like 16,000 people in it, which doesn't seem like a lot because we did this football video not that long ago where we did the top 25 largest stadiums. And really, 16,000 would be extremely small for that. But for basketball, it's a lot because of how much smaller these arenas are. And yeah, this is just a really modern, nice stadium. Next up, we have Allen Fieldhouse, the home of Kansas. And if you look at this stadium from the outside, it literally just looks like a classroom or like a class building for a college campus. But the inside, it's actually huge. 16,300 is the capacity. And oh my goodness, the Kansas fans pack out every single game, and it gets really loud in there. So this is why this is at number 14, mainly because of the fans. Next up at number 13, we have Jadwin Gym, the home of Princeton Tigers. And just look how interesting this arena is. It's actually 5 levels is what I read. There's tennis, fencing, everything in this thing. But here's the basketball court. Very interesting looking. Honestly, it looks like a high school court, and not in a bad way. Just like kind of that design. Now we are in the top 12, and we have Vihaz Arena, the home of San Diego State. And this is actually the old site of the old Aztec Bowl, what would you call it? I guess stadium, I guess, would be for football. And this is a huge arena, 12,414 seats. And it is huge. It gets really loud in there. San Diego State, it's really steep as well, if you can see that there. So this is a really cool arena here, Vihaz Arena at number 12. Next up, we have another very old stadium. We have Williams Arena in Minnesota, which opened in 1928, but it has had a lot of huge renovations over the years. That has made it 14,600 seats, very large stadium. You can see there's a bottom level, there's an upper deck. So this is Williams Arena at number 11, the home of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now, another arena that's on my bucket list, the Pit Dreamstyle Arena in New Mexico. And this is insane because the Pit, if you don't know, it drops 37 feet below the street level. So right through these doors, it just goes straight down 37 feet. Well, not straight down, but you get it. 37 feet. I think this would be super cool. Plus, it fits 17,600 people. So this is definitely on my bucket list. Next up, we have Rose Hill Gymnasium, the home of Fordham. And you know how I said earlier that there was, I forget which team it was. Maybe it was Princeton. Was that it? The third oldest stadium in college basketball. Well, this is the oldest. A year older than that one, 1925. It only fits 3,200 people, which is extremely small for NCAA. But Fordham is the oldest stadium in college basketball, so we have to put it on this list just because of how old and historic it really is. Now at number 8, we have Assembly Hall, the home of Indiana. I know I keep saying this, but another arena I would really love to go to. Indiana has one of the best fans in college football, basketball, no question at all. They always pack out their arenas. And one thing I love about this arena is how steep these seats go, and they just go so far up and it feels like they go on forever. So this one, a very large stadium as well, 17,200 seats. This is definitely one I would love to go to, and that's why it is at number 8. I could have put it in the top 5, honestly, and no one would get mad at me. But this is a really nice one. Alright, next up, you might get mad at me a little bit, but Cameron Indoor Stadium is coming here at number 7. You would probably want this to be a little higher, I feel. But honestly, it only fits 9,000 people, which is a lot smaller than some of the other ones we've had so far on this list. I know this isn't completely off of how large the stadium is, but that is a large factor. But Duke, I'm a North Carolina fan, okay? But Duke does have one of the best fan bases in all of college basketball. It is a pain to play against them, just as a fan to watch. And as a player, I'm sure it is insanely difficult. But Cameron Indoor Stadium, I had to give them at least 7. I could have put him in the top 5, but just because of my hatred towards Duke, we put him at number 7. All right, next up we have my team, Dean Smith Center, the home of North Carolina. The Tar Heels, let's go. This has been my favorite team ever since I started watching college basketball because it was my dad's favorite team. Because Michael Jordan, all the legends were on this team. And this is one of the largest arenas in the NCAA, 21,750. It is awesome. I've been to the North Carolina campus, but unfortunately when we went, it was not basketball season. We would have watched a game if it was. So that's pretty disappointing, but hopefully one of these years I'll be able to see a game. Next up at number 5, we have Alaska Airlines Arena at Heck Udminson's Pavilion. This is the home of Washington. And a fun fact about this stadium that I just read when I was researching, it actually had a dirt floor level underneath it just a little while ago, like maybe 20 years ago, that's where the football team practiced. So that's very interesting. I did not know that. But just the reason I put this in the top 5, very interesting stadium. It's cool. Next up, we have Memorial Gym Vanderbilt. This is another very old arena, opened in 1952. It's also a concert hall, but the reason I like this stadium so much is, as you can see by right here, There's 3 levels on top of each other, and that's the same. So Vanderbilt, very interesting stadium. It actually holds 14,000 people, which I was honestly surprised. I would think it would be a little lower. But that's Vanderbilt, and now we are going into the top 3. Now at number 3, we have Payne Whitney Gym, the home of Yale. And if you looked at this, if I saw this, I was driving through Yale for some reason. If I looked at this, I would not think this was a college basketball arena. I would think maybe it's a chapel, a church, or something. It's 14 stories, and it does not look like a basketball venue, but it actually is. And Yale actually packs it out, sells it out for most games, and they actually have a very good fan base. So Payne Whitney Gym looks like a church, but it's not, and it's a very, very cool arena. Now we have the Palestra in Pennsylvania. It's in Pennsylvania, and the school is Pennsylvania. So I live in Pennsylvania, and I could go here easily. I've never heard of it, to be honest with you. I known of the school Pennsylvania, the Quakers, but I did not know that their college basketball arena was number 2 in the country. So maybe I'll have to check this out sometime. The Palestra, Pennsylvania, number 2. It actually holds 10,000 people, so very large stadium as well. All right, I don't want to reveal what number 1 is quite yet. I'm about to. All right, are you ready for the number 1 best state arena in all of college basketball? Here it is. Hinkle Fieldhouse of Butler, opened in 1928, has over 15,000, over 9,000 windows, and it's actually a National Historic Landmark. And just look how cool this stadium is. Arena, I keep saying stadium. Look how cool this is. Awesome arena here, 1928 too, so it's one of the oldest in all of college basketball. So there you have it. There are the top 25 best college basketball arenas. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe right now before you leave. It means a lot to me if you would. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Remember to keep God first, and I will see you guys in the next one.